Hi, folks. Welcome to class this morning. Glad to be here back in Blue Mounds. And last week I was visiting my parents in Biloxi, and I did half and half with everyone. We did it in the living room. It was really fun. Um, so I got to be just like you and take Scott's wonderful class, which is always fun too. I don't get to take his classes very much, and he's pretty good, right? He does all right. I think we'll keep him on. We got a cat back here ready to get into the workout as well. Maybe you're ready to get into it too. It's very hot in here, so we might get a little sweaty. Um, Balance and strength. That's what we put in the chat up there, working on some balance and some strength. That's kind of pretty classic Pilates and yoga stuff. Nothing special we really have to do about that. But we have a strap. So grab a strap or a kitchen towel. And we'll start with some of the upper body strength work. And if you were at last week's class, Scott talked a lot about, I remember, I was a good student, a lot about drawing the ribs in and the different ways that the ribs, sort of the feeling of the ribs coming together. There's this around, I often think of it like a tape measure coming around and drawing my ribs together. Sometimes I talk about the shoestring tying in the front. There's the down from the ribs down to the waist. That's more the internal oblique working to bring the ribs down and kind of in. And then there's like the back, that as the ribs come together and drop down, they have a little bit of a back, and that's like the whole rib cage. It's often the whole rib cage. Doesn't have to be, but the whole rib cage kind of tipping to where this comes down and in. And then when you get those three things happening, then there's space. When you get that support, there's space to open the chest. So with that review, I think that's really helpful for the strap work, right? Because we want that foundation of the rib cage kind of anchoring everything. And then we want the breath to open, the chest to open, the ribs to open. And then we want the shoulder girdle to lift and open as well. So let's set up our strap. You might already be ready with your strap. I'm being a little slow. So holding out a little wider than shoulder distance, elbows a little open. Find your rib connection in the front. Take a moment and just work with that so that as you inhale, you keep a little bit of support here. And you let the breath move through the upper ribs, the side ribs, the back ribs on the inhale. As you exhale, together, down, and in. And this very first movement we do with the strap is to get the rotator cuff working, but it's also just to practice breathing and moving. So inhale, you pull out, exhale, release. So you can focus on that ribcage movement. Exhale, release it. Inhale, pull. And you might notice I'm going a little faster than like to get a really full deep breath, it's usually slower. So it might not be your fullest, deepest breath. It doesn't always have to be. You can still support from the ribs and let some movement happen in the chest. One more time, pull and hold it. Go ahead and take the exhale. And then with the inhale, float the arms up. Exhale, lower it down. And following the breath, medium-sized breath. Little tension on the strap the whole time. Loose-ish grip, not a super tight grip in your hands. And one more time up and hold that. And then release the tension. Now have your hands, your fists slightly lower than your shoulders for a couple of reasons. One, the hands come up higher than the shoulders. We tend to lose the rib back action, right? So easier to get the rib back action. But also hands slightly below your shoulders, then the shoulder blades can stay in place. We don't have to worry about the shoulder girdle movement that happens in the next phase. So you keep them a little low, you pull out, exhale, release it. Breathing exercise. Inhale, exhale. Back of the shoulder, back of the arm exercise. Two more. One more time, pull and hold it. Now we get the shoulder girdle movement. So the shoulder blades, the collarbones glide up as your arms go overhead. They glide back down to rest on your rib cage. So this movement right here happens in conjunction with the arms floating up. Just also lifts the shoulders up a little and lower back down. Feeling that movement. Supporting from your ribs. Three more. And lower all the way back down. Okay, so a little bit of work around here. Not too much work here, hopefully. Maybe a little bit, but not like, make sure you're not gripping in your jaw or your teeth. And then a little bit of work through here and some kind of aliveness through the ribs and the breathing. So let's add a little balance into that idea. So we're going to do that same action. And then at the same time, we're going to work with shifting the weight. One heel lifts, shifting the weight, the other heel lifts. So we're shifting our balance back and forth each time. And every time I shift to both feet, my pelvis shifts a little bit to be balanced in between the 2 feet. As I shift over to one foot, my pelvis shifts over a little bit to come onto that foot. I go back in between the 2 feet, it shifts over a little bit. So it's useful, and my rib cage needs to go with it, right? Sometimes we do this and leave the rib cage behind. So here we go. Bending as the arms come down, and then lift your left heel. Back to both feet, hands a little below the shoulder. Lift the right heel, and both feet. Left heel comes up, both feet. Right heel comes up. Preparing to stand on one leg. Setting up your foundation on the one leg. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Up, leave the arms shoulder height. Come back to both feet. Now you can keep doing that same pattern, or you can take the foot all the way off this time into a balance. Now we go to the overhead version, right? So now this is our range. So we're here bending, shift, balance, either the heel or the foot, both feet, and up. You could also do it just like your toes lightly touch the floor. The foot's still off, but you're not up as high. Feel how you prepare and shift over to balance. Center the pelvis, shift it all over. Lower and up, and lower and up, and both feet. And lower all the way down. And relax. Okay, so we're going to do another round of those. If your arms get super tired, you could do all this without your arms. Or if your balance is not so great, I don't know. I think if your balance is not so great, you should still lift the heel. I think you could maybe lift the heel, but you could also just stay on both feet and bend and straight. So we're going to do another round, but we're going to do it in the V shape, in the Pilates V. So not super rotated, but just a little open in the feet. That's going to get contact different muscles in the hips to maintain your balance. Still going to work with these oblique muscles, but it just kind of contacts them in a different way when you're in that rotated position. So could be easier for you, could be harder for you, might feel similar. Let's find out. Elbows a little wide, bending, left heel lifts, arms come up to shoulder height. Lower down, exhale, shifting, and lower, and up, and lower, and up. Exhale, find your ribs, and keep them. Leave the arms shoulder height, back to both feet. And then second version, bend, balance, arms overhead, both feet, one foot. Feel the transition moment, right? It's right here that I have to think about the most. Really feeling how I move to that one foot and then maintain the balance. One more each side. And then lower everything down and relax. I'm gonna take the strap off to the side. So we've talked before about obliques, and obliques are kind of a like popular theme that we do sometimes. It feels really good to get your obliques working. This movement that Scott talked about last week with the ribs, where do they stay? The obliques are definitely involved in that. And then what I was just talking about, how sometimes your pelvis goes over, but your rib cage doesn't. That has a lot to do with the obliques too, right? How are they holding your stability? How are they maintaining things? And when the obliques help connect your upper and lower body, then when your weight shifts over, stays more centered, bones stay more lined up. So really useful for balance to think about the obliques too as you go, or to have those coming on and helping you. They're really helpful. So let's go down to the floor and maybe do a little work with that. So however you like, working your way down to the mat. And then we'll just go right onto your back. Knees bent and feet flat. And then take a moment here, let everything settle. Take your hands onto your lower ribs, just like give them a little bit of weight there. And then see what your breath feels like. Just a small reminder of the lower rib connection. And then let's take your right hand behind your head. Your left arm down by your side. And this is an exercise that's more out of Feldenkrais, a somatic practice, not necessarily out of Pilates or yoga. So it feels a little different than the way we often do this in Pilates. The elbow is all the way up to the ceiling as opposed to out to the side. So my left arm down, have my right hand behind my head and the elbow straight up to the ceiling. Still want to keep my ribs connected. And then I'm just going to do kind of a gentle same arm and leg movement. Right elbow goes to the right knee. and right knee folds up. So end up in this position right here. Now I'm not going to touch, I don't have to go super close. I want to keep all this just kind of like neutral, posturally like in place, not like super far in. I take it back down. And then that's it. I just go up and lower down. And this is helping to get my same side obliques working, which are really helpful in balancing when I have to stand on one leg. Left side pretty much just stays out of it. And then leaving everything down, we're going to keep your right elbow behind your head, right hand behind your head. We're going to shift to the left knee coming up. And I know every time this happens, we're used to thinking elbow to knee and doing that cross twist. But again, this is a little different what we're going to try to do here. I'm still going to send my right elbow to my right knee. That's still its plane. It's going to stay right in that action. I'm just going to lift my left leg up. So if I kept going on either side, it's like my elbow and my knee would slide past each other. They wouldn't touch. They would just glide past each other and then back down. So a couple like that. Exhaling. So I'm feeling the kind of the cross lateral movement that's a part of our everyday life walking without twisting, without rotating. Two more. And back down. And then take both arms down. Now, before we go to the other side, we're going to take single leg circles. So we just did a lot to kind of figure out this same side oblique stability, to figure out this cross lateral stability. Let's take the right leg straight out. And again, in single leg circles, when my right leg is straight out, it's supporting the kind of work that I need to stand on one leg, to stand on my right leg. So I often think of that, like what if I were standing up doing leg circles? I'd be standing on my right leg, my left leg would be out in front of me. So we're going to think about that, like organizing that side and then the left leg up. And then keeping the right side really stable. So left leg circles across, around and up. Inhale. Exhale. Keep your circle a little smaller than normal today, especially if you tend to do a really big circle, just so we spend a little more focus on the kind of balance stability. Same circle, opposite direction. Connecting the ribs helps you find the obliques and breathe a little more fully. One more. And then take your leg down. Okay, so let's go through all that on the other side now. So left hand goes behind your head, elbows straight up to the ceiling, rib feeling in the front, right hand down by your side. So we do same elbow and knee. Left leg lifts as I come up, same line. Back down. I'm exhaling to come up. Inhaling down. And keep going. Two more. See if you can keep your neck relaxed. Let your arm really hold your head. And then arm stays the same. It keeps tracking straight towards the left knee, but the right knee comes up. As you lower your head, what happens to your lower ribs? One more. And bring both arms down. Now our left leg is our standing leg. Reach it straight out. Little flex of the foot. Think of your foot connecting all the way up through your left obliques, through your ribs. Right leg comes up. Little on the smaller side of your circle. Inhale across. Exhale around. Really stable left side. Sometimes my left leg like turns out and in, like my foot sort of tips open to the left and then comes back in. I'm going to try to keep it in place the whole time. And let's take the reverse. One more. And then take it all down. Relax everything. Okay, so we said balance and strength. Let's get back to a little bit of the strength stuff. And we're going to do that in shoulder bridge. So we're going to have knees bent, heels in line with your sits bones here. So this is our pelvis centered between two legs feeling, right, as we roll up and down in shoulder bridge. So we're going to press the feet, one vertebra at a time rolling up, starting from your tailbone curling up and rolling through your spine. Now this is a good one to think about the ribs together, down towards the pelvis and back a little bit as the pelvis comes up. Stay here for a moment and notice the ribs. And then coming back down. And same thing again, just like that. Working through your spine. Notice your breath. Both feet pressing. Take a breath when you're up there. rolling back down. So next time when we go up, we're going to stay there. We're going to bring in some of the balance. Same basic progression we did standing. We're going to start just with one heel lifting and lowering, the other heel lifting and lowering when we go up this time. So rolling up. Take a moment. Connect through your ribs. Press through your feet. Hold your pelvis at like 80 to 90% range. Not the highest you could do, but pretty good. And then one heel lifts up. Feel how your pelvis shifts just a tiny bit to the foot that's down. Lower back down. So as the left heel lifts up, maybe your pelvis shifts just the tiniest bit to the right. Feel that right leg start to hold your weight. Back down. Keeping the ribs connected. Shifting the feet. One heel up and lower. One more time each side. And then rolling back down. Okay, so I find that's plenty of work. It's a lot of work. So we're going to go up again. You can do that same one heel at a time version, or you can take the full balance where one leg comes all the way off, like that knee fold coming off. If the leg comes all the way off, then when you come up, you're probably going to go to like 70% of your full range, right? 75% of your full range. Otherwise, you know, what you can hold with 2 feet just isn't typically what you can hold with 1 foot, right? So a lot of times what people do is they push way, way up, and then as soon as the leg comes off, they drop their pelvis down right away, right? So they might come way up and it's really, really good. And then to get 1 foot off, everything sort of falls. So personally, I like to just start where I think I'm going to be. So I think of coming up a pretty good amount, maybe 2/3 of the way, maybe a little more, and then really try to hold things stable. So I really find my strength and I keep it, right? Also, if one leg comes off, you're probably going to feel a little more of that shifting over of the pelvis and then coming back to center and shifting over if you take the foot all the way off. So just a couple of things you can notice as we go up this time. So rolling up. Find your nice strong position. Keep the ribs connected. I'm going to feel my weight shift a little to my right foot so my left leg can come off. Lowers back down. I feel it on both feet. Shifts a little more to the left so the right leg can come off. Back down. Get a lot of hamstring on my right leg to lift my left leg. I'm pressing down through my arms to help me too. And one more. And then rolling back down. And stretch your legs out on the floor. And then knees into your chest. Bring yourself up to sitting. Okay, well, my time is up, people. So I'm going to pass it off and we'll see what Scott wants to do today.
Hello, everybody. So let's begin in standard ordinary standing. And a really big part of balance is we tend to be in our heads, don't we? Thoughts, and concerns, and worries. So invite awareness to drop down into your belly, and all the way down into your feet. So right now you're standing on something that has texture. And explore the possibility of feeling that texture, whether it's a mat or carpeting, wood or tile. Because the soles of the feet have almost as many nerve endings as do your hands. Now with that sense of your feet, the lower part of your body, let's do a little weight transfer from one side to the other side. So pretty similar to what you did with the strap work. Now very similar to what you did with the strap work, we're starting by shifting side to side. Let one heel come up a bit. Other heel come up a bit. What are you currently feeling in your feet right now? And now if you'd like a little bit more challenge, let that weight transfer shift entirely to one foot, back to middle entirely to the other foot, and side to side like that. A few more. Shift, pause, shift, pause, and back to the middle. Now take your feet a little bit wider than hip width, just the tiniest bit turned out. And now keeping up with our theme of strength, we're going to do some squats. Bring your arms forward, and let's start with a little knee bend. Exhale, bend. Inhale, come up. Little knee bend. Exhale, bend. Inhale, come up. Now if that's cool with your knees, bend deeper. If that's still cool with your knees, bend deeper. So squats are one of the premier exercises in that they strengthen your legs and your butt and your torso. So squats are among the most effective, most perfect exercise. Let's do about 3 more. One more. And step your feet back together. And then invite awareness to your breath. Slow your breathing a bit. And deepen it a bit. Then we're going to make our way to the floor. Exhale, arms up. Inhale, fold. Exhale, gorilla. Inhale, step back. So here we are, yoga pose, head down dog. Let's take 3 of those slower, deeper breaths. Then come on down to your knees. And then for another one of the most perfect exercises, push-ups. Let's bring your hands a little bit forward. And then bring your torso forward such that your knees and hips, shoulders are all lined up. And your neck and head. So if we do nothing besides this, it's a version of plank. It's good for your core. So just like with squats, let's start with a little bend. Exhale, little bend, bending your elbows. Inhale, little straighten. Elbows. Exhale, little bend. Inhale, straighten. See if you can keep that alignment. Knees, hips, shoulders, neck and head lined up. Now if that's cool on your elbows, you could bend deeper. If all is still well and good, you could bend deeper. Two more. Last one. And bring your hands back in a little bit. And then back to yoga pose, head down dog. 4 breaths. And then come on down to your knees. And then all the way down to your belly. So let's start off with crocodile position. So hand on top of hand, forehead atop hands. And let the weight of your ribs fully drop into the floor. Let the weight of your skull fully rest against your hands. Now to help open your upper back. Deep breathing. Now to continue our thread of working with strength. See if you can keep your neck and head more or less where they are. As you release your hands toward your armpits. So we're toning the muscles of the upper back, muscles that run along the spine, and holding your head up. Now create a little bit of length in your spine, stretch your toes back, reach the crown of your head forward. And now to continue, deepen this thread of building strength. Hover your hands up and reach your arms back. 3 breaths. Still your nose and chin hovering off the floor. And bring your hands back to your armpits. Push up to hands and knees. And back to yoga pose, head down dog. 2 breaths here. And then come on down to your knees, and again, all the way down to your belly. And just as we practiced a few moments ago, bring your chest right up snug against the floor. And even though that will more than likely tend to smush your nose into the floor, see if you can keep your chest down as you float your nose and chin up. Again, to help strengthen the muscles that run along your spine, that help take some of the strain off your neck. Great length, crown of your head forward, toes reach back. And then see if you can keep that length. We're going to work on lifting one leg at a time up toward the ceiling. Keeping that length with the out breath, lift your left leg an inch or so up. Inhale, bring it back down. Keeping that length, right leg. Exhale up and down. Once more each side. Both legs down. Press both hands down to come up. and back to yoga pose. Head down dog. Let's see, we've done 3 breaths, 4 breaths, 2 breaths. 1 deep breath. Down to your belly. So now let's put all these pieces together. So chest down. To help improve your posture, float your nose and chin up. Do so in length, toes back, head forward. Then float your hands up, reach them back, and now we're going to work on coordination that also helps support balance. So we're going to take right leg and lift it up at the same time, left arm. Exhale, right leg, left arm, go up. Inhale down. Now the other set, left leg, right arm. Exhale, up. Inhale down. First set again. Once more each side. And both arms next to your armpits. Here's another chance to build strength. Push up. Head down dog. 3 breaths this time. And then come on down. And moving onto your side. So let's start off on your left side. Remember, I'm mirror image of you. And toward the back of your mat, place your arm, shoulder, butt. And then toward the front of your mat, press your feet. Bring your feet. You can bend your elbow. You can rest your head on your arms in whatever way you choose. So head, shoulders, hips, all lined up. Feet a little bit forward. Then, to help strengthen the lateral side of the leg, where a lot of us are weak, float your right leg up. Once that leg's up in the air, then point your foot, plantar flexion. And see if you can keep that verticality, hip stacked on top of hip, shoulder stacked atop shoulder. Inhale, bring that foot forward. Exhale, bring it back. Inhale, forward. Exhale, back. Matching movement to breath. Let's do one more front back. Keep that leg lifted as you bring it above its neighbor, its friend. And now to continue the thread of building strength, we're going to make little circles with your leg. Little circles. 2 circles with the inhale. 2 circles with the exhale. Now let's go the other direction. 2 circles in breath. 2 circles out breath. Then lowering that leg down. All right, so like you're going to flip a pancake, flip over to the other side. Now I consider what we just did in the subcategory of OF. No, not at OF. Oddly fatiguing. Getting set up, head, shoulders, hips on the back edge of your mat, feet on the front edge of your mat, hip on top of hip, shoulder stacked in the vertical atop shoulder. Float your upper leg up, point that foot, inhale forward, exhale back, forward, back. 3 more. Now, for almost all of us, this is a weaker link. Remember, a really big part of balance is strength. It's one of the reasons why, as people get older, they tend to lose their balance because they've lost their muscle mass. So keeping that leg slightly lifted, leg on top of leg, let's do 8 circles each direction. Halfway there. Now the other direction. Almost done. Then lower that leg down. And then onto your back. So I want to continue the thread from last week. So talked a lot about the ribs and the breath and ways to free up the rib cage, really to free up the whole body. So if you remember, spoke of the lower ribs with the out breath. They had 3 vectors. One vector was downward toward the pelvis. One vector was backward into the back body, in this case toward the floor. And the other vector was lower ribs toward each other. So let's use a mini crunch to reinforce that. Interlace your hands. Bring your hands behind your head. And then to help release any tension in the neck, lift your arms up. Use your arms to lift your head up. So 3 vectors act on your lower ribs with the out breath. With the next out breath, apply those 3 vectors to lift your head higher, but mainly to lift your shoulders up. And we're going to hold here for a while, shoulders lifted. Each out breath, reinforce how your lower ribs slide down toward your pelvis. Each exhale, reinforcing how your lower ribs move into your back body. And each out breath, reinforcing how your lower ribs move toward each other. Now see if you can maintain those 3 vectors as you slowly roll down. And this has so much possibility to release your upper back and your neck. Isn't that interesting how those lower ribs want to disperse? So this exhale, apply your 3 vectors. Lightly hold them as you inhale. Couple more breaths on your back. All right, now let's make our way from reclining to seated. We're going to do some deep breathing. So maybe sitting on a cushion or a chair. Making a plea for any of the cats in the room to come join you. Yeah, they're off doing cat stuff. All right, so take a moment to get settled. If you're seated in a chair, a sense of the floor beneath your feet, a sense of the chair supporting your torso. If you're sitting on a cushion, a sense of rootedness through your sitting bones to help support the lift of your spine. Now, this is a little bit treacherous territory because for so many of us, the moment we think about sitting up, those lower ribs jut forward, and that puts a lot of strain on the neck and the lower back. So use each exhale to reconnect to the three vectors. Connect. Maintain that connection. Deep inhale. Now, maybe you've already observed that I'm breathing quite slowly and quite deeply. Using that inhale to inflate your rib cage. Now, especially if you tend to have a tight neck or a painful neck, more than likely you have some restrictions in your rib cage. So to help free up those restrictions in your rib cage, by association to help release neck tension, use the out breath to make the connections, the three vectors. Maintain those three connections with your lower ribs. Then the next inhale is going to introduce more space between the adjacent ribs. Now, there's a particularly positive benefit when that inhale infuses back ribs. So continue this deep breathing. If you recall way back at the beginning, remember when Colette was asking you to lift your arms overhead? And she invited you to let your shoulders lift up? The same thing is true with deep breathing. When you inhale, when your shoulders lift up, don't prevent that. Let that happen. Let's do a couple more deep breaths. Now let go of the deep breathing. And then shake out any tension. You can probably see I'm shaking out my hands and my arms. All right. And then rest. All right. That's it. So before we close for the day, any comments, questions in the chat? Looks like it's kind of quiet out there. Thanks so much for joining us. And we got a sidewalk sale happening 11 to 2 if people are in town. So Colette's reminded me, if you are local here in the upper Midwest, we have a sidewalk sale going on at our studio in Madison from 11 until 2. And we're selling a lot of very gently used pieces of equipment, foam rollers, straps, blankets, mats. So if you get a chance to check out the sidewalk sale, our whole little commercial district, Monroe Street, is all having sidewalk sales. So come on over and buy yourself a sidewalk. Thanks so much. Have a good week. Bye-bye.